accelerator by mistake. A very, very hefty mistake. Eyewitnesses now allege something more serious, that the cops inside that PCR van were drunk. Liquor bottles are reportedly found inside that van as well. Now, the constable behind the wheel has been suspended along with one other. An FIR has also been filed. But questions aren't going away anywhere, because when the saviors of the night turn into the ones we fear, who really watches the watchmen? First, take a look at this detailed report, then we'll discuss this further.
Delhi's killer road striking again. A disabled man crushed to death by a Delhi police PCR van. The Delhi police vehicle smashed into his family-owned roadside stall. A life cut short by those meant to protect. Images from the moment after the crash show the locals confronting the two cops who were in the vehicle. The Delhi police claimed that the driver hit the accelerator by mistake. The van driver lost control, killing the bystander by the name of Gangaram. But eyewitnesses allege otherwise. They say the policemen were drunk.
पुलिस वाले के गाड़ी में सर तो पहली बात दारू थी, दोनों नशे में धुत थे और एक साथ में लड़की थी। यहाँ लड़की रोज लाते हैं सर, गलत काम का होता है बस। उनसे कुछ बोलो तो सर रिवाल्वर निकाल के कनपटी पे रख देते हैं।
उस वक्त घटना के बाद क्या हुआ वो बताइए।
घटना के बाद सर यही हुआ कि मतलब वहाँ से गाड़ी स्पीड में चढ़ाए हैं, एक बैल लगा के ऊपर पापा के हमारे ऊपर चढ़ गई गाड़ी।
Delhi police suspended both men in uniform, Constable Khimesh, who was driving, and an ASI who was accompanying them.
This is the by-lane where a PCR van comes and the tire evidence, the mark of the tire is very much visible on the by-lane, and it rams into the tea stall out there where Ganga Ram Tiwari, possibly in his early 50s, was sleeping and he died on the very spot. FSL has already taken the samples from the spot. The Delhi police senior officials had come to meet the relatives of the person who has died in this accident, saying that they will be providing all possible financial support to the family, and action will be taken against the culprits after a proper investigation.
An FIR has been registered. The crime team and the Delhi police are probing the case. But the question remains, who takes responsibility when protectors turn killers? With Amit Bhardwaj, Bureau Report, India Today.
And updates coming in on that story. The constable who was driving the PCR van and was earlier suspended has now been arrested as well. In a preliminary investigation, the driver stated that he was parking the PCR van on the ramp and accidentally pressed the accelerator instead of the brake. But how could you do that? Somebody in uniform, somebody with so much of experience as well. However, the police say this is the driver's version, which is under investigation. Meanwhile, questions have been raised on the medical examination, whether or not they were in a state of intoxication, were they drunk or not, that is yet to be revealed. Let's cut across quickly to my colleague Amit Bhardwaj, who's been tracking all these details. Amit, you were at the site where it happened. You're still there, I see. A lot of eyewitnesses have made some very, very strong claims. They're saying A, the cops were drunk. They are saying B, there was a woman inside that PCR. We don't know if any of these are true. We are yet to get those results. But you can almost see in those visuals that the crowd all along got so angry that they were out there beating up the cops. That's the anger that's sort of, spilled out on the streets after this incident, and rightly so.
Sonal, what happened, if you look at the ramp out there, or the by-lane which is right next to the road at the RK Ashram Metro area, it's not far off from the tea stall, barely 30 or 40 meters away from the tea stall, from where that PCR van must have started its approach on the ramp road. So what happens is that unless you are in full throttle, the car is in full acceleration, the kind of accident and the kind of impact that it had on Gangaram Tiwari wouldn't have happened, which means that, why the car was moving at this speed is a bigger question. That too in the early hours of the morning, so there was no rush for the driver to be in that particular speed. So that there's a bigger question as to why did this happen. Many of the eyewitnesses that I spoke to in the morning, they were constantly claiming that these individuals, the personnel inside the PCR van, were in a state of intoxication. They were drunk. That's what they were claiming. And on what basis these claims were being made, they said that we have recovered liquor bottles. And the confrontation that you see in the video is the locals and the eyewitness were saying that we want to click picture of those involved in the entire accident, but the police was trying to stop them. That's when that confrontation also happened. The son of Gangaram Tiwari told me that they do not have enough resources even to take his father back to home in UP Gonda. So they are from a really financially weak background. The question right now also remains, Sonal, whether similar action will be taken as in the case of BMW accident that we saw recently in Delhi, or such serious charges will be pressed against the officials or not. Back to you.
And also, who's going to investigate the matter? Are we really expecting the cops to investigate their own? And will there be a fair and, a fair inquiry on this? All these questions clearly remain. But thanks, Amit, for joining us and bringing us up to speed with all those details. The constable behind the driving wheel over there has now been arrested by Delhi police. Let's break it open to our guest now. Joining us is Arvind Kumar Jain, former IPS officer, and Vikram Singh, former DGP of UP as well. Let me go to Vikram Singh first. This story is so sad at so many levels, sir. On one hand, if I were to even take away that entire cop angle, anybody crushing a man to sleep like this on the road, a man with such poor means, is just terrible, horrible. Harshest punishment should be going on to them. And then you wake up to the reality that, hold on, these are the men who are supposed to protect you. These are the men who are supposed to watch out that no untoward activity happens. Now, this is shocking to say the least, but that's only Act 2. The third part of this entire story is that they were actually drunk on duty. So I really don't know how to begin with this. I think Delhi Police has some very, very, strict questions to answer at this point.
Good evening, Sonal ji and my dear Arvind Kumar Jain sahab. Let me tell you, there are multiple fault lines that you have seen. First, that they went over the ramp and said that they could not distinguish between the accelerator and the clutch. This itself reveals that your sense of coordination and body movement were not under control, which gives merit to the fact that you were either inebriated or had consumed liquor to the extent that you were absolutely not in control. Two, the allegation, it is bad enough. I don't say that there is merit, but the fact that somebody has leveled the allegation that there was a woman with you is bad enough for a uniformed officer. And this needs to be and to say that, yes, it needs to be investigated by a senior level officer. The police need to investigate. And in such situations, you really have to be cruel, to be kind, give exemplary punishment. Otherwise, the message will be that perhaps you, when you conduct inquiries of your own, you are unusually magnanimous and kind and look the other way. This is going to be counterproductive to your own prestige and your reputation. Delhi Police is one of the most professional police forces in the country. And I would expect that all the questions that you and Amit Bharadwaj have raised, they will be addressed in the next 24 hours. The arrest of Khamesh came a little late.
Yes.
And the very fact that the provisions of 106 BNS and 1062 of the BNS required that they should have been arrested immediately. I would like to know, the superior officer, he was not on the wheels, agreed, but he was the supervisory officer. When is he going to be arrested? If right underneath indoors, there are allegations that there was a woman, it is bad enough. Number two, if there was a person who was drunk, I would presume that either he was complicit or he did not have it in him to check him that you should not be drinking at all. This is against conduct rules and both should be given punishment.
Valid points there, Vikram Singh, bringing that out. Let me break it open to Arvind Kumar Jain as well. Sir, the point is, had this not been, a tea seller, a man with not so much of, with a little more means perhaps, with a little more of an identity, this would have been a much bigger story. We've decided to raise it at prime time on 5 o'clock today when a lot of others haven't. Precisely for this reason. Life is so cheap when you are poor, right? And this is not coming in as a question mark just on the state of affairs, but a massive confidence being depleted on Delhi police on the whole.
You are absolutely correct. This is a very bad incident and a blot on the good name of Delhi police. A few things are absolutely clear. Number one, no checking of PCR vans was being done. Otherwise, liquor bottles in the morning in the vehicle, along with one woman, it is absolutely unheard of. It means there is no system of checking of PCR vans in Delhi. Delhi CP should look into it at once and should enforce it. Number two, when was the medical examination conducted? How many hours after the incident? This should be disclosed.
Yep.
And in my opinion, SIT should be formed, headed by an additional DCP or DCP rank officer, in which there are many people who should investigate the whole case. And action, as sir said, action should be taken against the supervisory officer also, because even he was drunk. He was pointing the revolver towards the spectators, towards the eyewitnesses. Why was he threatening? Why was he threatening them? It should be found out as to who was the woman traveling in the PCR van along with these two policemen. So unless and until action is taken, evidence should be recorded of the local eyewitnesses also. This poor person was handicapped also. He has marriageable daughters also. So proper compensation should either be given by Delhi police or by Delhi government, because otherwise the family has no means of survival.
Yeah.
So very, very deterrent action is required in this case. In BMW
and action against Delhi police as well. We need to get to the bottom of this matter. You know, if I just compare things, and Vikram Singh coming on this one, when the Delhi chief minister, somebody slaps her or pushes her or there's a bit of a heckling involved, you change the Delhi police commissioner. Something like this happens. A poor man has lost his life. We don't as much as see a statement. We first hear the entire day is gone, and we now get to hear that finally an arrest has been made. These are double standards, sir. Just because the man is poor, this is not the way Delhi police can behave.
Extremely important point raised by you, Sonal, and I'm happy that you've raised it. There cannot be two sets of read for the Honorable Chief Minister of Delhi and for also deceased Ganga Ram Tiwari. Poor lives do matter. And since poor lives do matter, as Arvind Kumar Jain ji has mentioned, that this should be made an exemplary case where absolutely prompt action needs to be taken, compensation given, and those in charge, both the supervisory officer and the constable, because as of now, the staggered action that is being taken gives the impression perhaps there is an insidious attempt to safeguard your ranks, which is totally unacceptable. I would rather that both should have been placed under suspension and both should have been arrested. The fact of the matter is that in the capital of the country, if somebody raises allegations that you were drinking and you had a woman, what kind of a policing have we inherited?
Yeah.
Therefore, I would again recommend that you need to be absolutely firm, transparent, and prompt.
Arvind Kumar Jain, is Delhi police even competent to investigate this case? We know what happens when you investigate your own. And I'm not saying that Delhi police is, you know, these constables, I've been a crime reporter. I understand the circumstances, the long shift, the long hours a constable has to really go through. We understand all of that. But in middle of this, do you have confidence that this case will see a free and fair investigation by the Delhi police?
Yes, if SIT is formed, if the case is handed over to senior officer, DCP, additional DCP rank officer, they are made liable that you have to give proper report. One more thing I would like to say, in Delhi BMW case at Dhaula Kuan, section 105 was invoked of BNS. In this case, section 106 has been invoked. Why? Why not section 105? The homicide not amounting to murder. It should have been enforced. A very direct action is required to be taken. They should be dismissed from service, both of them, so that others they get a lesson that such kind of nonsense will not be tolerated on the roads of Delhi. You are supposed to protect the people. You are not supposed to be in drunken state and moving around and killing people on the roads of Delhi.
Yeah. Vikram Singh, I want to play the devil's advocate here. You know, my blood boils when I see stories like these, when you realize that, A, look at the circumstances, you sleep on the road, you have a tea stall, how much money are you really making, what's the quality of life that you have? And on top of that, to be crushed to death this way, this is no way to live. In 21st century India, while we boast of our GDPs, this is no way to live. Our citizens, and each one of them, deserve better. And when I say each one of them, I include the Delhi police officers in this. We've seen the reforms happen over a period of time, and I understand very deeply, you know this more than anybody else, that a life of a cop is not an easy one. It's filled with challenges. And in circumstances like these, one has to say, and I'm sure cops watching the story are going to say that inko kya pata hamari zindagi mein kya hota hai. How does one justify that sentiment? How does one look at this story?
Sonalji, I'm so happy that it will bleed anybody's heart as it's bleeding your heart. It's a tragedy. And of course, nobody can dilute the two dimensions of tragedy. The cop's life indeed is very challenging and demanding, and all of us have gone through. All the more reason that we should have a heightened sense of empathy, and we should not compromise with the basic sense of humanity, compassion, and propriety. In this case, everything has been compromised, and I'm sure any upright police officer who is wearing an honorable uniform will not compromise with this kind of a misdemeanor, indiscipline, and gross act of, I would say, indiscipline of the worst kind. Therefore, I would say that demanding ours is one thing, but to have empathy and a sense of commitment to serve the people is entirely another. And that is what every police officer is paid for, from the constable right up to the DGP.
Right. Right. Arvind Kumar Jain, I want to understand if the buck stops here. I want to understand if it is okay to just arrest these two officers, suspend them from duty, arrest one actually, suspend both from duty. Is that enough? Or should we be asking questions to the higher-ups as well? Like I said, when a politician is slapped or a big BMW is involved, harsher laws, laws are put into force, harsher action is taken, right all the way up to the Delhi Police Commissioner. Why not? Why not in this case?
You are absolutely correct. Responsibility should be owned up by the senior officers. I know very well that there is a joint commissioner or additional commissioner rank officer supervising PCR vans. Even the DCPs of the local areas, they are supposed to make surprise checks, whether they are putting on proper uniform or not, whether the turnout is proper or not, whether they are drunk, in a drunken state or not. So it means checking is not being done. People were alleging that every day, this happens every day, they bring women and they are drunk and they move in PCR vans. It means this is taking place on regular basis. Very serious action should be taken, even against supervisory officers, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And if I can give a citizen perspective here, as a woman on the streets of Delhi, when I walk versus if I'm walking in Haryana or UP or other places, I feel a sense of safety because Delhi police is involved. Cases like these, they erode that confidence. Cases like these deter me from approaching a PCR van in case of need. Cases like these erode my confidence in the fact that there are cops out there so I can sleep in peace. And this clearly should not be stopping at just the suspension of two officers and perhaps the arrest of one. A systemic change should be looked into, and one must really inquire what exactly is going on when all of us sleep at home, what exactly is going on in these police stations inside the PCR vans as well. I'll thank you both for joining us on this discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we're going to slip into a very quick break. Coming up on the other side, doctors in Delhi are seeing a rise in the highly contagious viral infection. It's got hand, foot, mouth. If you're a parent, you know that already. But if you're a parent, you know what a serious problem this is becoming nowadays. More on that on the other side of this very quick break.
जैसे चाहूँ गाड़ी चलाऊं, तिरछी या फिर आड़ी चलाऊं, रेड लाइट जंप करता जाऊं, ट्रैफिक रूल्स को ठेंगा दिखाऊं। क्या कर लेगा ट्रैफिक वाला, मेरा बात है पैसे वाला। मेरे रास्ते जो कोई आए कर दूंगा मैं जिंगा लाला। मेरे को अब कोई टोकना नहीं, मन मर्जी से मुझे रोकना नहीं। मुझे समझाना मत कोई रूल वूल, ये है मेरा स्टाइल, मैं हूँ बंदा कूल। मेरी मर्जी। रॉन्ग साइड में मैं गाड़ी घुसाऊं, हेलमेट फेंक के बैक मिरर में बाल लहराऊं। ट्रैफिक वाला रोके तो मैं तेज भगाऊं, साइलेंसर हटा के खूब शोर मचाऊं। ट्रिपलिंग भी करूंगा जिसमें दम है वो रोक, हॉर्न भी बजाऊं ऐसे कान दूं फोड़। पॉल्यूशन कराऊं नहीं खूब मचाऊं गंद, चलती गाड़ी पे मोबाइल न करूं बंद। मुझे कोई रोको नहीं, मुझे कोई टोको नहीं, मेरा टशन देख के कोई भी चोको नहीं। मेरी मर्जी।
एकड़ी निकल जाए ऐसा होगा फाइन, ऐसा फटका लगेगा उतर जाएगी वाइन। खुद की लाइफ को डेंजर, दूजे को भी थ्रेट, ट्रैफिक रूल्स तोड़ने के देख ले बेटा रेट, आगे तेरी मर्जी।
To know more about India Today's Gross Domestic Behavior Survey, log into gdb.indiatoday.in. Powered by Adani.
A storm is sweeping Nepal. Gen Z is rising against corruption, against nepotism, against unemployment. Their revolt has rattled the old guard and sparked calls for a radical reset. This week, India Today uncovers the story shaking South Asia, revolt of the Gen Z. What drives this youth uprising and why it matters for India? Read it all in the latest issue of India Today, Making Sense of India.
Available for speed delivery at Blinkit and Amazon.
इलेक्शन कमीशन ने बड़ा स्पष्ट कहा है कि नो डिलीशन ऑफ एनी वोट कैन बी डन ऑनलाइन बाय एनी मेंबर ऑफ पब्लिक। ऑनलाइन किसी भी वोट को नहीं काटा जा सकता और नो डिलीशन कैन टेक प्लेस विदाउट गिविंग एन अपॉर्चुनिटी ऑफ बीइंग हर्ड टू द अफेक्टेड पर्सन। तो बगैर किसी की बात सुने उसका वोट नहीं काटते, उस पर निर्णय नहीं करते। 2023 में अनसक्सेसफुल अटेम्प्ट्स की गई, प्रयास किए गए जो विफल रहे। नाम काटने के आलंद असेंबली कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसी में, और ये इलेक्शन कमीशन ने एफआईआर फाइल करने के लिए ही कहा था इस पर, और मैटर इन्वेस्टिगेट करने के लिए भी इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया ने ही कहा था। इलेक्शन कमीशन ने मोबाइल नंबर पहले ही उपलब्ध करवा दिए हैं, आईपी एड्रेस अगर दे दिए हैं। अगर मोबाइल नंबर दे दिए, आईपी एड्रेस दे दिए, तो कांग्रेस शासित राज्य की कर्नाटक की सीआईडी ने अब तक क्या किया?
It's Andhra Pradesh versus Karnataka, the high-stakes battle for business and investments. And the fallout could reshape the economic landscape of southern India. Bengaluru's crumbling infrastructure, broken roads, potholes, clogged drains are no longer just civic nightmares. They are now a full-blown business crisis. Digital trucking giant Black Buck has announced plans to vacate its office in Bengaluru's Belandur, citing pothole roads, traffic mess and poor infrastructure. The company stresses it's not leaving Bengaluru entirely, but this move sends a strong warning to the Karnataka government.
There are huge potholes, and this is the kind of infrastructure the people get. And that is one of the reasons that Black Buck company, which is planning to move out of Belandur area, they will be moving out of Belandur, but they will not be moving out of Bengaluru. But they are looking out for an alternative place in and around Belandur. No matter which party comes to power, the IT companies in the outer ring road are suffering every single day.
While the Siddaramaiah Sarkara played down the impact, the BJP has slammed the Siddaramaiah government for driving away business and pushing the state into decline. Meanwhile, across the border, Andhra Pradesh is ready to capitalize on Karnataka's missteps. Just hours after Black Buck announced his exit from Belandur due to poor infrastructure, Andhra Minister Nara Lokesh took to X with a bold invitation, asking the logistics company to shift base to Andhra Pradesh, promising better infrastructure and safer cities.
Same thing with a company who shall not be, name cannot be disclosed by me officially. They're going to build one of India's largest data center in Visakhapatnam. It's going to be a 1 gigawatt data center. We started it from ground up. That conversation, I think, happened around August, where I drove them personally, showed them the land, and got them excited about Visakhapatnam.
And this isn't the first time Andhra has seized such an opportunity. Back in July, when Karnataka failed to give land for industrial use, Andhra had made a similar pitch to poach business away from the state. Will Karnataka fix its crumbling infrastructure in time? Or will Andhra Pradesh steal the show quite literally? With Sagai Raj in Bengaluru, Bureau Report, India Today.
Parents of toddlers, listen up. Doctors in Delhi are seeing a rise in the hand, foot and mouth disease, a highly contagious viral infection mostly affecting kids under 5. Let's tell you a little bit more about it. What exactly is hand, foot, mouth? It's hitting at the same time as the surge in flu in H3N2. Remember, we told you about that a couple of days ago, making the season extra tough for our little ones. Now, at first, this illness can look like a simple cold. There will be symptoms like a mild fever, sore throat, maybe some fuzziness as well. But soon after, painful mouth sores appear, along with rashes and blisters on the hands and feet. Thus the name hand, foot and mouth. Now in babies, excessive drooling or refusal to eat can also be an early warning sign. Now this disease spreads fast, especially in daycares and in schools. It passes through saliva, mucus, stool, and even by touching shared toys and surfaces as well. One sick child can quickly turn into several. It's said to be the most contagious in the first few days as well, when perhaps most of the signs aren't really showing. There's no specific cure, however. Most kids get better on their own in about a week to 10 days, but treatment focuses on largely comfort, keeping a child hydrated using pain relief like paracetamol, ibuprofen, etc., and soothing the mouth with some gels, etc., with a lot of rest. But parents, if your child has high fever, that won't go away, refuses to have food or drink, shows signs of dehydration or becomes unusually sleepy or has a sort of stiff neck, seek medical help immediately. Those are all of the red flags. But here's something important. Kids that catch hand, foot, mouth, they can catch it more than once. That's because multiple viruses cause it. It's not like you get immunity on the first time and then there is no coming back of hand, foot, mouth. Even if your child has had it before, they could actually get it again. The repeat infections tend to be milder and not as intense. Now, the best way then is to protect your little ones. The best way forward is to have good hygiene, regular hand washing, cleaning of toys and surfaces, ensure that your school is doing that as well, avoiding contact with any sick kids, and also keeping your child home until they have fully recovered. Hand, foot, mouth disease may be common. In fact, it's very common. If you're a parent, you'll know that. But it's serious, especially during the tough virus season. So stay alert and keep your children safe. In fact, cases of hand, foot, mouth have gone up across North India. We saw a spike in Chandigarh where schools had to be shut. They asked kids to stay at home and do online classes. The similar instances were reported in Punjab as well. And in Delhi now, there seems to be an outbreak as well. Now, a lot of parents I know are, despite the warnings from schools, are still sending in kids. So if your child is showing any of these symptoms, be sure to contact your doctor and watch out for the symptoms. If it gets severe, then you might need to take your child clearly to the emergency and have him looked after. But largely, that kind of red spots is what that hand, foot, mouth disease looks like. It is not chickenpox, it is not measles, it is not smallpox, it's just called hand, foot and mouth. The three areas where these symptoms actually appear the most. All right, so that's the big one on hand, foot, mouth. Be careful about that. But let's tell you another breakthrough in medicine that has happened. In a world where millions are battling weight issues, weight loss is becoming a booming industry. You already know that by now if you've been watching 5 Live with me. And the breakthroughs, they just keep coming. First came the injections like Manjaro, Wegovy, Ozempic, and now a daily pill that could help people lose a significant amount of weight. And it's currently one of the most closely watched experimental drugs in the space. Now, this pill has been developed by Eli Lilly, and it works like any other GLP-1 drugs. It lowers the blood sugar, slows down digestion, and reduces appetite. The combination makes it easier to eat less and lose weight over time. But what really sets it apart is the format. It's a pill, remember, not a shot. No needles, no refrigeration, no potentially lower costs as well. And that could make it much more accessible for people who've also been priced out or uncomfortable with the injectable options. Now, in this largest phase 3 trials that have happened in the US actually, over 3,000 adults who were overweight or obese but not diabetic took the pill daily for 72 weeks. At the highest dose tested, which was about 36 milligram, and participants lost an average of 12.4% of their body weight. That's about 27 pounds or so. That compares to just about 0.9% weight loss in the placebo group. Now, some headlines have also claimed that 1 in 5 people lost 20% or more of their body weight, but the actual number was about 18.4. Again, I'm telling you all these details because remember, this pill is not out yet. But come 2026, not just Eli Lilly, there will be several brands, including the companies here in India, who will be coming out with this pill. Much more affordable, much higher reach as well. Now, for people with type 2 diabetes, the results were slightly less dramatic, which is expected. Now, the participants of the highest dose lost about 10.5% of their body weight. They also saw meaningful improvement in blood sugar, with 1AC levels dropping as much as 1.8 percentage points from the baseline. On the safety side, the most common side effects were gastrointestinal, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, vomiting. Most were mild to moderate, but as with any other GLP-1 drug, the side effects sort of became more frequent at higher doses. About 10% of the participants on the highest dose dropped out of the study due to the side effects. They just could not bear it. That's 10% of people saying cannot bear even when it's a pill, compared to about 2.6% in the placebo group. Now, it's important to note at this point that this pill hasn't been studied in children. So any claims about higher risk in younger usage, etc., are not backed by any data yet. And also to note that the drug is not yet approved by FDA or other global regulators. But Eli Lilly says that it's preparing to seek approval. If and when it hits the market, it could make the class of treatment available to a much wider group of people, especially those who have found injectables out of reach, both because of their pocket or because of the fear of needles. But no matter how promising, here's the bit to remember, no matter how promising the numbers look, this isn't a magic fix. There's a real risk of misuse or over-reliance, especially as social media fuels hype around weight loss drugs. Now, used correctly, GLP-1 in a pill form or injectable could be a valuable tool. But like any tool, it needs to be part of a broader plan, one that includes medical supervision, long-term habits, and a realistic view of what health actually means. It's not just about looking thin, it's about being fit. So yes, it's a big step forward, but the real test will be how it's used when it leaves the labs and enters the real world, is available in the pharmacy next to you, which is likely to happen by next year. All right, so that was all about the new weight loss pill that's going to hit the market. But let's go back to the story on hand, foot, mouth, since so many parents have written into us talking about it. And if you are one, you know what a terrible, terrible virus this one is. Let me bring in Dr. Nihar Parikh, pediatrician and director at Just Childcare, for more on this. Dr. Parikh, hand, foot, mouth is perhaps one of those diseases that every parent fears more than the children themselves. It comes back every year. There seems to be no one reason for it, and it keeps coming back. There is no immunity building on this one. So at the onset, I want to understand from you, till date, do you think there is enough information, awareness on hand, foot, mouth? Or are people still sort of confusing it with, say, chicken pox, measles, smallpox, because it kind of looks similar?
Hi. So basically, hand, foot, mouth has been around. We've seen a lot of cases over the last 8-10 years. It's a yearly occurrence. It's an occurrence where, since the disease, it's a viral disease, it's highly contagious. It spreads on touch and saliva and fomites, something a child is touched and another child touches. And usually there are outbreaks as soon as school reopens after the vacations, which now coincides with the rainy season. So as the viruses thrive in rainy season, the schools reopen in the rainy season, and this virus basically is sort of in between a chicken pox and in between a normal viral, where the child gets a fever for a day or may not get, but the boils which are there, as the name of the disease suggests, starts on the hand, the feet, and inside the mouth. Now, they're just a quick progression of the disease. The boils start on the 2nd to 3rd day, peak on the 4th and the 5th day, and by 6th or 7th day, they disappear. Usually occurs in children anytime after the 9 months of age, can go up to 7 years of age. But we've seen older kids also get it again and again. We've also seen, but it's much milder. Few adults get it, but it's extremely contagious in children from 9 months of age to 7 years of age. And the only thing that bothers every parent is that trauma of the boils inside the mouth, which makes the child not eat for a few days and suffer through a lot of pain, drooling because they can't swallow saliva, they don't eat. But it's a self-limiting disease. It's not it doesn't cause complications, so we don't need immunization. And because this virus has multiple forms of it, getting the virus once doesn't mean they won't get it again. We've seen it occur as frequently as every 2 to 3 months as well. But the ones after the first one are usually the milder ones. But yearly phenomena, very common.
Very common. Dr. Parekh, I want to understand, at what stage is the virus most contagious? Because a lot of people think of it as a regular flu. From what I understand, the first 2 to 3 days, when you have the fever and a very mild fever that goes unnoticed, sometimes that's when the virus is really spreading. And there is no way of telling if this is actually hand, foot, mouth till the time you see the boil sort of appear.
So that's the unfortunate bit, because till they usually get contagious sometimes on the day of the fever, even a day before the fever, before these boils actually come up. So if the boils don't come up, the parents are left clueless whether they're contagious or no. And even if the boils happen to come up in the mouth first, it's impossible for the parent to realize, because the only thing that would happen was the child would stop eating. So it's a very standard dictum to all parents that if there is fever, or even in today's day and age, even if there's a gut feeling, what we call as a parent's intuition, that the child is coming down with something, I usually request all the parents, to be a good Samaritan, not to send their children to school, because eventually they'll end up getting something which is contagious. And something like hand, foot, and mouth, once a child reaches a school with this disease, it spreads like forest fire, and usually land up infecting 70 to 80% of the kids in that grade.
Right. So, Dr. Parekh, what is your advice? I know in schools, they are taking a lot of precautions. I was dropping my kid in the morning to her toddler school, and the teachers were all there at the stations checking for symptoms and all of it. In my head, I was thinking, if you have to check for symptoms, that means it's already spread. So there's a problem there. There's no way of detecting it beforehand. And then there are the other kind of parents who say that, listen, this is spreading. I will not send my kid to school. Let's keep them at home. So what's your advice? Can you sort out a mother's dilemma there? What to do at this time of an outbreak?
So my answer to that question is picking the middle path. The parents and the school have to work hand in glove. It's a very simple thing. Today, the schools do have an option of online. So if there's even one case detected in a particular class, I would request the class to be online for a few days. And all the parents in the class should keep the other parents and the teachers notified if their children have got the disease or no. Number one. Number two, I also want to tell every parent that there is no reason to panic, because this disease, although extremely contagious, has no long-term sequelae except your child going through some pain and remaining isolated for 5 to 7 days. So please don't panic, and don't kind of play the blame game in which you're trying to figure out who gave your child the disease and this school should take more care. Because in this day and age, I think every parent wishes the best for their child and children around their children. So I think we all should come together as a team, including the school, considering the option of online schooling.
But Dr. Parekh, very quickly help me understand this. In a day and age when we have a vaccine for pretty much everything from weight loss to weight gain to why isn't there a vaccine or an immunization program against hand, foot, mouth? How difficult is that?
It's not difficult, but to invest millions of dollars for a disease which is not causing death or hospital admissions is not advisable. Building natural immunity over time, all it kind of demands is a few days of the children suffering through a particular disease. But since this disease has a 0% chance of any long-term sequelae, any complications, or any reason to get admitted besides a little dehydration, sometimes the child's not eating anything. Making a vaccine out of this would not be, let's say, in a business-oriented term, cost-effective.
Until you get the mothers to become scientists and they find a cure, which is much better than a vaccine. We leave it there for the moment. Thank you so much, Dr. Parekh, for coming in and sharing all those details.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, let's move on now and bring you the other stories that we are tracking here. Now, ABC has pulled late-night TV host and comedian Jimmy Kimmel off air indefinitely amid controversy over his remarks about the killing of the conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Now, President Donald Trump, who was very close to Kirk, celebrated this, saying that Kimmel has zero